Howdy, I'm Dusty.
I'm Buford.
And I'm Buttermilk.
And we're the Biscuit Brothers.
And sister.
Happy anniversary, SEDL.
We want to thank you for all your hard work in
Education.
Buddy.
That was it.
Wow. Education.
Jump out.
Hi, I'm Michael Hinojosa from Dallas ISD. Happy 40th anniversary, SEDL. We appreciate everything you've done and continue to do for us. Here's to your next 40.
I have very many happy memories of my years of service on the board, and I extend my hearty congratulations and very best wishes to SEDL on the occasion of its 40th anniversary.
In
Education.
Come on, out. Get out of the box. Yep.
Hi. Look, I know I was supposed to pop out of the box, but that is a small box. I mean, I know I'm tiny, but that thing is little. No way I could fit in it. Sorry.
Well,
Hope I didn't ruin the surprise. Hi.
Happy anniversary, Vito.
Hi, I'm Austin Mayor Will Wynn, and on behalf of our entire city, and really even the region, the state, and nationally, I want to say congratulations to SEDL for 40 years of proving great partnership models when it comes to improving the educational attainment levels of kids really throughout this country.
Happy anniversary, SEDL. It's been 40 years. Quite a trip and quite a journey, and we appreciate all you do for Oklahoma's boys and girls.
Who are we talking to again? Let me read the thing. Leadership. Thank you, leadership, for all your hard work.
Tiny. Turn it sideways.
Right, it's on the side.
Right there.
Thank you, SEDL.
No.
SEDL.
No.
I said it wrong. Thank you, SEDL. Who's SEDL?
Hello, I'm U.S. Senator John Cornyn. I'd like to add my voice to the many here this morning in congratulating Southwest Educational Development Laboratory on its 40th anniversary. Texans should be proud that you've made your home here in our state. The important services SEDL provides to young people in after-school training for reading, math, and science are to be commended. I'd like in particular to thank Wes Hoover for his leadership. When we were at Trinity University together, who would have ever guessed what the future would hold? But Wes, in your case, the world is better off for it. Thank you, and again, congratulations.
I'm Shirley Neely, Commissioner of Education. Happy anniversary, SEDL. Happy anniversary to you from the Texas Education Agency. We are very proud to be counted as one of your founders. For 4 decades, Texas has benefited from your commitment to school improvement. The solutions you have developed have benefited bilingual education and students with disabilities. Your work has enhanced the growth of technology in the classroom and education policy in general. On behalf of the educators and the children of Texas, thank you, SEDL, and happy anniversary. Now, let's roll up our sleeves because there's much more work to be done. Thank you.
From all of us at the Texas Association of School Boards, we'd like to wish SEDL a happy 40th anniversary. You should be proud of the work that you do to help schools improve teaching and learning, to involve families in the educational process, and to provide quality research and assistance to policymakers. Congratulations on 40 years.
Hello, I'm Veronica Garcia, Secretary of Education in New Mexico. Happy anniversary, SEDL, from your friends at the New Mexico Public Education Department. And thank you for 40 years of service to children and education. Congratulations.
Happy anniversary, Mr. and Mrs. SEDL.
It's with great fondness and admiration and pride that I say once again, happy 40 years here in Austin, and may you have another 40 more.
Good morning, SEDL members and supporters. I'm Congressman Lamar Smith. Today you are celebrating 40 years of outstanding service to schools throughout the Southwest. Your work in preparing the next generation of Americans is critical to our country's future. Over the next 40 years, America's future will be determined by its citizens' knowledge and skills. I am grateful for all your work in education, particularly your commitment to integrating technology into teaching and learning. Keep up the great work.
Happy anniversary, SEDL, from your friends at the Arkansas Department of Education. Thank you for all your years of dedicated service to our students across the state.
We at WGBH, the big dog on the PBS porch, would like to send our very best wishes to our colleagues at SEDL on their 40th anniversary. To Wes, JJ, Vicky, Kathy, Joyce, and all the others, we send hearty congratulations and very sincere wishes for 40 more years of great stuff for American kids, teachers, schools, and parents.
Cheers to you, SEDL, for 40 wonderful years of service to the country. We applaud you and we thank you.
Happy anniversary, SEDL, from your friends at the Louisiana House of Representatives. The state of Louisiana is proud to have been a part of SEDL's creation 40 years ago. Thank you for all you have done over the past 40 years, and in particular, helping our educators through the toughest chapter in our history ever during the past 15 months.
Happy 40th anniversary, SEDL. You're as old as my mom, SEDL. Happy anniversary, SEDL.
Here we go.
Someone's got an anniversary and SEDL is their name. O-S-E-D-L-S.
D-L-S-E-D-L-S.
And SEDL is their name. Oh,
is their name. This is the SEDL jig.
SEDL.
Y'all getting a shot of my feet? I'm doing fancy footwork down here.
If I were gonna write a song for SEDL, it hopefully would be better than this.
SEDL.
SEDL. SEDL.
SEDL.
SEDL.
Had an anniversary.
SEDL.
Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
Happy, 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 happy anniversary.
Happy, 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 happy anniversary.
It's hard to believe you guys are related, right, Buford?
I thought that was fun.
I was adopted.
Okay, I think we got enough here. I think that will suffice. That'll do, biscuits. That'll do.
Currently the chair of the SEDL board. On behalf of that board, I would like to welcome you here on this gorgeous morning. It's fantastic outside. Thank you for coming today. As you know, at schools, by time right now, my students are beginning their day by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you have young kids or if you have young grandkids, you know them as the Austin-based Emmy Award-winning Biscuit Brothers. I want to join Nancy Eady, our board chair, in welcoming you here today. Everyone here is important, and in addition to our speakers that we'll hear from in a minute, I want to take this time to introduce some special guests. First, from the office of U.S. Representative Lamar Smith, we have Susan Heckman. Where's Susan? Right there. Thank you. And from Senator Cornyn's office, Sandy Edwards. Sandy here? Nope, she hadn't made it yet. We also have two of our Austin area legislators, Representative Donna Howard and Mark Strom. We're also joined by some wonderful people from our past. Board chairs Winnie Gage and Michael Davis. Previous board chairs, there's Winnie and there's Michael. And a former board member, Brother Richard Daly. Richard. From the Austin business community, one of our honorary steering committee members, Ann Stafford, is here. And on our head table, we have our 40th anniversary co-chairs, part of our founding members of SEDL, Dr. Wayne Holtzman and his wife Joan. And my predecessor, Dr. Preston Kokoski, and his wife Emmy. We also want to thank our friends at 40 who made this event possible. Colliers Oxford, Or are they all? Here, Texas Monthly, Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce, Studio 8 Architects, and of course the beautiful Intercontinental Stephen F. Austin Hotel. Also, we have our good friend Jim Connecticut from the University of Texas. And we have a number of SEDL alumni here that are special, but too many to name. I would like to have all of the former staff members from SEDL stand, please. Good to see so many of you here. And I'd like to also say, finally, to our staff, mostly our staff that are currently at SEDL that are here, it's good to have you here. They are the heart and soul of our organization. Without our staff, we wouldn't be able to do any of the work that the commentators voiced comments about. But in particular, I want to talk about two staff members, and I'd like them to stand. Sue Liberty and Connie Timmons. Miss Connie. Sue Liberty has been with our organization 35 years. Connie has been with us 9 days. And thanks to all of the people who have served less than 35 years and more than 9 days. Connie, we look forward to recognizing you in another 35 years. Our speakers this morning are connected to two presidents who had a passion for education. We're honored that Lucy Johnson and Sandy Kress are here with us today. Sandy is a partner at Aiken Gump law firm. His practice focuses on public and policy at the state and national levels. Sandy served as the advisor to President Bush on education issues around No Child Left Behind. Without question, that law is the most significant law relating to education since the Elementary and Secondary Education Act was passed in 1965. This morning, we're honored to have Sandy here to talk about and reflect on the progress of schools are making, and to think about some issues that might be occurring for schools in the future. Sandy has previously served as president of the Board of Trustees of the Dallas Public Schools. He received his AB in 1971 from the University of California at Berkeley, where he was a member of Phi Beta Kappa. He received his JD with honors in 1975 from the University of Texas School of Law, where he served as president of student government. It's my privilege to introduce Sandy Kress.
Thank you so much, Wes, for that nice introduction. It really is an honor to be here to celebrate with you on this 40th anniversary and to reflect a little bit, with a fabulous and accomplished and contributing audience. It's an honor to be with you today. To think a little bit about these past 40 years and to reflect a little bit on the future. This all began, and I don't want to steal her thunder at all, but a light went on in this country in the 60s. President Johnson was in office, and for the first time, we made a commitment at the federal level, at the national level, to educating all youngsters. There was a recognition that while we are state-based and local government, local education, that we were not honoring a commitment to the full educational achievement of all of our people, particularly low-income youngsters throughout this country. And so the Elementary and Secondary Education Act was passed about 40 years ago, and it set us on a journey, an important journey that we're here to talk about a little bit today. The idea was, and it was so nice to be able to reflect on that history with President Bush and Senator Kennedy and the others in Congress around No Child Left Behind about what that act really meant, because it said just that we need to be sure that we're educating all of our people and effectively. Now, there were gains. You know, people are fond of saying the good old days were great. Well, for many of us, the good old days were great. But let me tell you a story about my experience in Dallas. And I grew up in Dallas and didn't fully realize that African American and Hispanic kids in Dallas were not systematically assessed until the early mid-1970s. It took a lawsuit to be able to create a condition in which the system, the superintendent and the board knew whether African American and Hispanic kids were learning or not. It's amazing. But it all got started with the Elementary and Secondary Education Act and the cases that took place in the 60s and 70s. You know what happened the first time that Iowa Test of Basic Skills was given to those youngsters in Dallas? They were at the 7th, 8th, 10th percentile in the country. So the good old days may have been good old days for many of us. They were not good old days generally for our low-income youngsters. So we were on a journey. And there was tremendous progress that was made in this country in the 60s and the early 70s. We went, I think, into a little bit of a hibernation in the late 70s and 80s. We didn't see as much progress, but there were pockets of interest in the 1980s. One of them here in Texas with our good friend Ross Perot, in a very colloquial way, said, let's open up the hood and let's see what's under it, see what we can do about it. It was just a moment of shining the light on the fact that we really had not made the kind of strides that were promised by the wonderful burst of activity around ESEA. But somehow or another, toward the latter part of the 1980s, and I like to reflect on this, it's almost like a little bit like the Renaissance, a little bit like those times in history where there's just a sudden surge of interest and creativity around doing something about a problem. And this happened in Texas, it happened in North Carolina, it happened in Massachusetts, it happened in many states where the standards-based movement was created in this country. The idea that we ought to set standards, we ought to be explicit about what young people ought to know and be able to do, that we ought to assess whether we're making progress, and we ought to do things differently based on what we find through that measurement. And sure enough, there were reforms in these states and others in the late 1980s, the early 1990s, through the mid-1990s, and we began to see a little surge of improvement and growth in how students were performing. These were changes that were picked up by Southern governors and other governors. Dick Riley was involved, Bill Clinton was involved, other governors picked these ideas up, and you saw through the Improving Schools Act in 1995, I'm forgetting the year, but we saw in the early Clinton years a move in that direction to carry that forward. Our gains were steady in math, not steady and really not significant at all in reading. And so Governor Bush got going on this, ran on this, and we saw an interest in the Congress in 2001 to try to really ratchet up the degree of accountability, support for research-based reading practices at the early grades, more accountability so that we know specifically whether African American, Hispanic, special education, English limited youngsters are making progress. That was one of the great inventions, I think, within No Child Left Behind. The notion that we needed more money to do this job. All of these features were part of the No Child Left Behind Act, and they've caused consternation, no question about it. No act is perfect. There are problems with any of these steps that we've taken. But you know, it's very gratifying to see in the long-term NAEP trends that we've made greater gains for African American and Hispanic youngsters since 2000 than we made in the entire 30 years before. So these things work. But not a single one of the reforms I've talked about, whether it was getting started with ESEA, whether it was the Ross Perot, no pass, no play, whether it was the standards and the measurement and the consequences of the standards-based movement, even the ratcheted up muscularity of No Child Left Behind. Each and every one of these steps over the last 40 years, I would suggest to you, was necessary, but not sufficient. And I want to spend just a few minutes talking about the next steps And these next steps over the next 40 years, and I think we're going to have to be a little quicker about it, are militated to some degree by this incredible pressure we need to begin to feel in our country because of global competition. We do not live in a world that allows us the luxury of being so slow about this reform, nor resisting reform in the way many of us do, candidly. If there's a problem with accountability, if people are teaching to the test, let's find a solution, like teaching the curriculum. If there's a problem about narrowing the curriculum, let's not let it happen. Let's make sure youngsters can read and then have a broad curriculum. We can't resist change and reform. The Chinese and the Indians and our competitors will not let us do it. Because I want to tell you, they are not waiting for us to get our act together. I have a friend who's the president of the University of North Carolina. I sit on a board with her. She went with other college presidents to China. And she came back, I'm fond of saying, her eyes were glazed over like those characters in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You remember that movie? You never knew where these people had gone to or who had come here. I didn't recognize her. And she came and said, and she has given speeches on this around the country, that they're doing things in China, they're improving dramatically their K-12 education. They're building new colleges and universities every year. They have the goal of 20% of their youngsters graduating from college by 2020. 20%. Now, Mark and Donna, you know we've been talking about math and science, and I profess to be fairly good at math, but 20% of that number is a number I can't fathom. These jobs that are being created, both in the United States and around the world, and hopefully will continue to be, they will not be the jobs for our children if we don't get far more serious about escalating and accelerating our reform. So what kind of reforms do we need to think about? Number one, we need to set the goal that all children graduate high school. That in itself would be something. All children graduate high school ready for college and the workplace. And not be satisfied with anything short of that. Thank you. Thank you. That means ramping up accountability at the middle schools. That means ramping up what high school is. High school has to be redefined. That means learning about, and this is a significant issue to discuss in this room, it means that we have to change our views of research and the importance of research. You know, only in our business is research largely anecdotal, correlational. It has to become scientific. We're that way about the drugs we take. We would never allow a pharmaceutical company to sell at a drugstore drugs that were not proven to be effective and verified by the FDA through a process. Why do we educate our children according to strategies and interventions and methods that are based solely on the opinions, the views, the anecdotes of people in the field? We have got to become scientific-based, research-oriented. I was at a writing conference. Carnegie funded the Alliance for Education, Excellence Education in America to do a study on writing. It's the first conference I've been at where only experimental or quasi-experimental research was looked to determine what worked. God bless them for that. We need to become oriented that way so that our children are benefiting from teachers who are taught in what's really proven to work. That's a change, and we need to make it. We need to do better about helping our teachers. Our teachers need to be better prepared in colleges of education. We need to find other sources of teachers. There's a program here at the University of Texas where the Dean of the College of Natural Sciences has worked with the Dean of the College of Education to get mathematicians and scientists to become teachers. And I had the great good fortune, I was bawling like a baby to be able to preside over the commencement and to have 1 out of every 8 science and math majors from the University of Texas at Austin to come across that stage, to get their diploma, and to walk off that stage and to go out to become a teacher. We need to professionalize teaching. And this is not going to be easy. Many teachers want to be professionals, but let me tell you, being a professional is very different than talking about being a professional. It means professional evaluation. It means professional compensation. It means professional issues about the job security itself. And we're going to have to move more and more in that direction. So higher standards, clearer standards, standards geared to a goal of college and workplace readiness, holding ourselves accountable year by year to getting them there, using research-based strategies to help our personnel succeed with our students, scientific research, helping them become professionals, and then holding ourselves as a community accountable grade by grade with mom and dad, or mom or dad, or grandpa or grandma, as part of a pact that all children, grade by grade, will be on grade level and will get to a place where they're able to get one of those good jobs, higher education in the future. Those are some thoughts about the next 40 years. I want to encourage you to listen to our next speaker. It's just such an honor to be with her. It's an honor to remember her father and his role on this occasion. But it's a special honor to be with her because she carries on in his tradition. She continues the work of President Johnson, Mrs. Johnson. We reflected a little bit about her leadership on the Board of Regents at the university. She was one of the few regents who listened to Kathy McGar and me when we would scream and yell as student leaders, radical student leaders back then. So I want to say a special word in her honor. Lucy Baines Johnson continues this work in this spirit at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, the Lyndon Baines Johnson Foundation, which supports the LBJ Library and the LBJ School of Public Affairs, co-founder of the Children's Hospital Grandparents Club, board member of Safe Place, life trustee of Children's Hospital Foundation of Austin and Seedent Fund, member of the advisory board of Trinity School, former member of the advisory boards of the University of Texas School of Nursing, School of Communication, Health, Education, and the welfare of our community. She's been deeply involved, and now we're going to be able to hear from her. By the way, a great mom and a great grandmom, and we're just thrilled, Lucy, to have you with us. Come and say a few words.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I just wish my father could have been here. Well, actually, I wish both my parents could have been here. My mother would have liked everything you said about me. My father would have believed it. It is an honor to be with you to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Southwest Education Development Laboratory. Your mission to solve significant problems facing educational systems and communities to ensure a quality education for all learners is a mission dear to my family's heart and invaluable to the success of the education legislation of my father's administration. I was there on the day that Daddy signed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act into law on Palm Sunday, 1964. I have seen over 40 years of working in the schools and 20 plus years of working around Head Start and in Head Start and raising 5 children and 10 grandchildren. The importance enhanced educational opportunities can make in the lives of children and their communities. My father's family was one of very modest means in a rural environment. Daddy had benefited from what few knew in his circumstances, a preschool education and a college degree. He knew what the difference these opportunities had made in his life, and he wanted them for others, especially children from low-income circumstances. When he succeeded at passing the Elementary and Secondary Education Act into law, he located his first teacher, Miss Katie Dietrich, and brought her from California to sit by his side in front of the one-room schoolhouse where she had taught him while he signed this monumental legislation into law. With tears in his eyes, Daddy took the pen he had used to make this bill a law and gave it to his teacher and said, "Miss Katie, this one's for you." My father's hope was that this law would provide students from poor environments, rural and urban, the same passport out of poverty that he had known, a decent education. Some 40 years later, Candace Call, a teacher who had benefited from Project Head Start, an improved Appalachian school, college, undergraduate, and graduate student loans, came by the LBJ Ranch to pay her respects. Candace had been abused and abandoned by her alcoholic father and raised by a loving but impoverished mother. Moved by this experience, she wrote the National Park that she had heard folks say in the recent election that it really didn't matter who was president, but she wanted us to know that it mattered to her back in 1964. So, when we celebrated the 40th anniversary of the Elementary and Education Act in 2004, I sent a ticket to Principal Candace Call, much as Daddy had to his teacher, Miss Katie. I asked her to come back and stand in front of Daddy's first school and tell us all what a difference in these education acts of the Great Society had made in her life. I asked her to tell us all how, as a principal, she was now making such a difference in the lives of other students. The Southwest Education Development Laboratory now celebrates its 40th anniversary, and I congratulate each and every one of you. You celebrate your 40th anniversary as we face another pivotal election. Over the 40 years, your mission has been to discover how our dreams for quality education can be made into a reality for all. Your tireless efforts to research and determine the ways that we can improve school performance, strengthen teaching and learning content, integrate technology into teaching and learning, involve family and community in student learning, and connect disability research into practice, have made countless differences in the lives of thousands of students like Candace Call. Your work has extended the benefits of Head Start into the elementary grades for English language learners. You've worked to build the capacities of state and local agencies, education service centers, and community organizations to help schools in their improvement efforts. Your focus on getting relevant research into the hands of those who need it is invaluable, and as is your commitment to helping state and districts they support implement the No Child Left Behind Act. But with all the advancements today, there is still so much left to do. And much of that need that remains, sadly, needs to be done in my own home state of Texas. Texans pride themselves in making high marks, but some of the high marks we are making in education are tragic and simply intolerable. Painfully, Texas is ranked 50th in terms of high school graduates. 1 in 3 Central Texas ninth graders is not enrolled in the 12th grade 3 years later. Texas currently ranks 47th nationally in SAT scores, and 2/3 of state and local prisoners are high school dropouts. If education performance trends in my state continue, by 2040, there will be a 40% increase in the poverty rate in our state, a 50% increase in welfare, and a 54+ increase in the prison population. All of these statistics are one we simply cannot afford morally, financially, period. I am so grateful. I am so grateful, Les, Sandy, everybody who cares about SEDL, that SEDL cares about important issues like this, because we need you more than ever before. Next week, we face another critical election. I deeply believe, as Candace Call did 40 years ago, the candidates we elect to office truly will matter. With their leadership and the support of organizations like yours, we can either rise up to meet our children's educational needs, or we can fail them. It is my fondest hope that when we come to celebrate the 50th anniversary of SEDL, you will find that there truly are no children left behind. Thank you so much.
Lucy, thank you for those thoughts. We're so pleased that you could be here with us today, and we honor your father's memory. The laboratory would not be here were it not for your father. And please, he was one of us. And please give your best to your mother. We wish that she could be here as well. And for both of you, Sandy and Lucy, we have a gift. Do you have it, JJ? It's hiding. Thank you very much. Those are leather portfolios from SEDL, and we hope that you'll find good use for them. Today we celebrate 4 decades since the nation elevated its commitment to education under President Johnson, as Sandy said, the first time that had happened in the history of this country. And many tough challenges remain. Those of us in education have accomplished a lot in the 40 years that we've been in service. And many in this room have made a contribution to that work. We've grown from a single office with 5 staff members to being able to build a new building now out at Robert Mueller Airport of 50,000 square feet. We're very pleased to be able to be a part of the landscape of Austin, to have our home here in Texas, but to have a reach that goes beyond our local community to the region and to the country as a whole. What we do at SEDL is what I've always done at SEDL. continue to try and build the link between research and practice. That was the niche that President Johnson set out for these institutions, to find out what works through rigorous research. But if you only have that rigorous research and you don't get it into the hands of practitioners, it won't help improve practice. So we have to be able to build the tools that can link rigorous research to those in the field that can use them to actually change what happens in the education of individual students. And that's something that this institution and other institutions in the country have a unique opportunity to work on. Not to just do research, but to build tools and get that research through those tools into the hands of people that can really do something with it to change what happens with kids. We have at SEDL a number of goals that I believe are important for us to achieve in our 5th decade. First, we want to become one of the premier institutions in education research and development. That is, to be a leader in the field of being able to do rigorous research, build tools, and link it to practice. We also want to partner. We believe that in our world, the more we can work with others, the better the work is for us. That is, we don't want to do it alone. We want to find others that are doing that work and link to what they are doing so that we can have a better product for the support of kids in need of our services. We also would like to play an instrumental role in the communities in which we live. And in doing that, we want to reach out to Austin. In the past, we've been known more in Washington, D.C. and Boston, for instance, than we have in Austin. But in our future, we would like to be more connected to the Austin community. Through the Mueller development work, we want to be connected with Seton Hospital and be able to find partnerships where that work with the hospital administrators can focus on education issues too. We believe that these are important things for our institution to achieve and that we can do that with the staff that we have and with many of you in the room who can help us do that work. In closing, I'd just like to say that we're very pleased to have gotten to the 40th year anniversary. This is a terrific occasion for us as a staff, and we look forward to another 40 years. As Sandy said, the task is urgent. We want to move more quickly than we have in the past. And so we want to rededicate ourselves to thinking about those children who are not served well by our current systems, and to rededicate our efforts so that in the future, we will in fact leave no child left behind, and everybody will have the road to success through an improved education system. Thank you all. We're pleased to have you here. Please feel free to share some time with each other before we go back to our buildings. Thank you very much.